State Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Ngongo. Insights on the inauguration of the edifice that is part of President Biya's vision in modernizing Cameroon's administration on this newscast. Construction works on the 35-kilometer Malwa Bogo stretching Damare Far North region is complete. Public Works Minister Emawenganu Jumesi has officially opened the road to traffic. The economic importance of road in the agricultural and fishing production business right ahead. Plus, the social and humanitarian actions of Cameroon's First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya, once again on the limelight. The Afro-political magazine Diva has dedicated an entire dossier on her role in female leadership in Africa. We flip through the pages of the magazine for you on this edition of the news. And those are top stories. Good evening and thanks for joining us on this edition of the 7:30 News. I'm Gladys Tata for presentation.
We must remain vigilant and mobilized, for this rapidly changing health crisis is still around. Together, we must resolutely continue the crucial phase of the fight against this virus through vaccination.
Welcome back. The Minister of State Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic has reaffirmed the strong determination of the head of state to transform Cameroon and place her on the path of modernization and emergence. Ferdinand Ngongo, representative of the President of the Republic, was speaking today in Yaounde while inaugurating the ultra-modern National Center for the Production of Biometric Passports. The solemn inauguration ceremony was attended by some cabinet ministers and members of the diplomatic corps resident here in Yaounde. Unity Palace correspondent Ashun Yengti has the details.
The National Center for the Production of Passports, the new administrative quarters in Etudi, is commissioned this Wednesday, August 25, 2021. President Paul Biya is personally represented by the Minister of State, Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Ngongo, in a ceremony attended by diplomats, members of government, as well as regional and municipal authorities. The Delegate General for National Security, Martin Mbagangele, whose duty it is to oversee the production of passports, says this system translates the determination of Cameroon's national security under the impulsion of the head of state to put in place a more secured protocol for the production of biometric passports, making Cameroonian passports among the most secured in the world. Mbagangele has confirmed the 48-hour deadline for the production of individual passports. He says there is no need for Cameroonians to look for middlemen to get passports issued and warns the public against being extorted. The chairman of the German consortium that produces the passports confirms the unique technological attractions of Cameroonian passports. For his part, the personal representative of the head of state, Ferdinand Ngongo, paid tribute to President Paul Biya for designating him as his eyes and ears on the occasion. On behalf of his principal, the Minister of State disclosed that the construction of the ultra-modern edifice is a fruit of public-private partnership.
La construction du Centre national de production des passeports.
It is part of the process to modernize our country.
De modernisation de notre pays. Loin d'être une action.
Far from being an isolated event,
Cet édifice futuriste.
This futuristic edifice is another testimony to the development vision of the head of state.
Le programme politique.
The political, economic, and social program which sustains this vision
accorde une place de choix
lays emphasis on paperless procedures
et à la simplification des procédures dans l'optique
and making life easy for users of public services,
aux usagers du service public,
and thus render public administration in Cameroon more effective and efficient. Ferdinand Ngongo recommended that everything should be done to ensure that Cameroonians living abroad get their passports. He said with this center, President Biya has proven that he cares about the well-being of Cameroonians and reinforces his status as a nation builder par excellence in all aspects of national life. After unveiling the commemorative plaque, Ngongo is led through a guided tour of the passport production process for him to have a proof of the pudding, as he is issued his own ordinary passport produced in only 20 minutes.
In other news, the 8th session of the Cameroon-Nigeria Transborder Security Committee ends tonight in Abuja with the adoption of resolutions to combat insecurity and empower border communities. One of the high points of today's deliberations was the conclave of contiguous regional and state governors of the two countries. Our special envoy, Albert Bonde, reports that the conclave was animated by frank talk and mutual respect. Albert?
They sometimes agreed to disagree.
There will be need to establish something at Ekok. Ekok in those days used to be a very wonderful place. There is a big market, a border market at Ekok, at Yumojok, at Manfred. But because the so-called terrorists don't want the population to enjoy the facilities, and once they do, they commit their crimes, they just cross.
Sometimes raising their voices given the sensitive nature of the subjects.
Going about other activities, including terrorizing, killing, raping, and so on and so forth. He's no more a refugee. He's an international thief. That's the reality. That's the reality.
It's a very, very sensitive point, I understand, and we have discussed this 1 to 4 now.
No complacency in the discussions among the contiguous governors of Nigeria and Cameroon, with a clear desire to create harmony along their common border.
And now it's time for action, time for implementation, and that these contacts we have to maintain.
They finally settled on key points, amongst which is the creation of a structure similar to the Border Community Development Agency in Nigeria and the construction of roads and social amenities along the border to facilitate the movement of peoples and goods and guarantee security, which they say will empower border communities and curb the rising crime wave.
The 8th session of the Lake Chad Basin Commission holds in Nigeria at a time when there is uncertainty on the sustainability of the Commission and on the survival of the lake itself. Kilian Dandifon reports on the future of the Commission and the lake.
The missions of the Lake Chad Basin Commission are multifaceted, ranging from the control of transborder security concerns through preservation of ecosystems and promotion of regional integration to the management of the Lake Chad itself, about 95% dried up, but its future is on the pendulum.
It seems very, very complex to answer to the question of the future of the Lake Chad, mainly because that commission has been created to solve the problem of the survival of that lake. Now that the main partner do not necessarily agree, it is not easier to say the future.
Hope is not lost yet, only if partners re-strategize.
But we may guess that the majority of the states which are part of that commission may successfully discuss with the other states.
Different sessions like the 8th in Nigeria should tackle the commission issues from a holistic perspective for its survival.
The road network of the Far North region has been enriched by 35 kilometers of tarred road. The completely constructed Malwa Bogo access in the Jamare division was officially opened to traffic yesterday by Public Works Minister Emmanuel Jumesi, who is on a working visit to the region. According to locals, the infrastructure will ease access to the agricultural and fishing basins in the area. Joyce Kimbi Fawaju has more.
The ritual cut that officially opens to traffic the Malwa Bogo road. The infrastructure has a linear length of 35 kilometers, 7.5 kilometers wide, with pathways of 1.5 kilometers in rural areas and 2 meters in urban areas. Reference speed is at 60 kilometers per hour. Constructed in a flood-prone neighborhood, drainage outlets have been constructed.
We take a solution to build a lot of big culvert to match those waters. You know that when a route is out of water, the route can have a duration.
The population jubilates as the road will ease access to agricultural and fishery production basins in the Diamare and Mayo-Danai division.
You know, when we have this road, I say in English, when the road is passed, the development will follow. Here in Bogo now, we have many potentiality for us in our market, the core market. Okay, the social development. We have the product that we can go to sell over there in Malwa. So we have many benefits about concerning this road.
Next stop, the foundation stone for the reconstruction of the collapsed bridge over the Mayo-Kalio Bridge in Malwa is laid by the minister.
Some staff of diplomatic missions and other international organizations in the country have begun attending a 2-day seminar on tax and customs benefits linked to their diplomatic status. While presiding at the opening of the seminar in Yaounde, the Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Motaze, said modernizing was sure means of making the Customs Department fully realize its objectives. Luma Slim Davis reports.
The role of the Customs Department in keeping the Treasury functional can hardly be overstressed. Capacity building for diplomatic missions staff on their fiscal customs advantages is also important with present-day dispositions.
But one very important innovation that we emphasize on is the automation of procedures that is going on in customs. We have a new customs information system which is applicable to all persons who clear goods through customs, including diplomatic organizations, diplomatic missions, and international organizations.
Participants have been schooled on customs clearance procedures governing diplomatic shipments in impact of dematerialization, amongst others.
We expect that in addition to going through the administrative procedures, we'll also go through with them with the automated procedures that happen in the customs information system so that they are also able to process their consignments within the customs information system, because we're moving into a paperless environment in the customs processing of consignments.
The main focus of the 2-day seminar is to boost modernization of Cameroon's customs.
In Cameroon, there is a tax regime applicable to diplomatic or consular missions and international organizations and similar bodies established in the country. The document outlines the tax privileges applicable to these diplomatic missions and organizations and certain categories of staff employed. Beatrice Ngom presents some of these fiscal customs advantages linked to diplomatic services as per international conventions. Her report.
With regards to the value-added tax, diplomatic, consular, international organizations and other bodies with similar powers enjoy fiscal immunity, meaning the benefit from tax exemptions on goods and services exclusively intended for their official use and office premises, furniture, office supplies and services necessary for the functioning of the mission, including repair and maintenance work. Fuel consumed for the official use of diplomatic and consular missions is also eligible for tax exemption, but only the official vehicles allocated to the heads of missions and other executives with diplomatic status are covered by this special tax on petroleum products. When diplomatic missions equally acquire or rent a real estate intended for their official use, they are exempted from registration duties. Again, only buildings housing the offices of the missions and international organizations, the official residences of heads of missions and other executives with diplomatic status are eligible for these registration duties. As for diplomatic staff, only those with a diplomatic status, like heads of diplomatic missions, consular posts, international organizations, and similar bodies, plus some senior officials, enjoy regime immunities and fiscal privileges applied to staff on their wages.
And on to this advertorial, Cameroon's leading telecommunications company, Camtel, has unveiled a new brand called Blue to boost the standards of its fixed mobile and transport services. The new commercial brand is already breaking grounds in so many sectors like the Yaounde Simalene International Airport, where it is highly appreciated by travelers from across the world. Irene Manti Ayonge from CRTV Center tells us more in the following report.
Camtel's new brand, Blue, is an innovative move to step up the quality of its fixed mobile and transport services. The innovation is all about standards because it is digital, smart, and easy to use and access with outstanding results. The new commercial brand is already breaking grounds in so many sectors in the country, like the Simalene International Airport, where it is highly appreciated by travelers from across the world. Presenting the brand to the public via video projection, Camtel's General Manager Judithia Sonde-Pu Sachidi outlines Camtel's vision of its new brand.
Blue is the brand that strives to make a difference. Blue is revolutionary, so it will gradually absorb all Camtel services, which will have to comply with the digital, smart, and simple tripartite. Blue is the personification of two areas of focus: customer centricity and change management. Camtel's revolution in its raison d'etre and in its way of delivering services. So that's our vision, to make sure that we put the customer at the center of our preoccupation and priority.
The Camtel boss further explains that the access of the brand is guaranteed for all customers nationwide.
Blue is about all customers, existing customers of Camtel, and eventually new customers. So all those who are connected to the world, be it at home, in the office, or on the move, it's all about Blue. You can find Blue all over the nation. So you can find all the Blue products in Camtel agencies. C'est Blue.
Camtel's new brand, Blue, falls in line with the company's strategic roadmap, which aims at making them more productive and enabling them consolidate their leadership position in digital transformation in Cameroon.
Over in the littoral region, Plan International Cameroon, with assistance from the United Nations High Commission for Refugee, will see some 1,000 refugee children in Douala through the 2021-2022 school year. The registration of these children are ongoing with the framework of a back-to-school campaign organized by Plan Cameroon to encourage the education of refugee children in the Muslim communities, most especially that of the girl child. Laris Nane Pote from Douala tells us more.
Statistics from the United Nations Human Rights Commission revealed that more than 2,000 refugee children of school-going ages reside in the city of Douala. The refugees are mostly from the Muslim communities coming from some 18 countries, with a majority from the Central African Republics. Plan International Cameroon, through its back-to-school campaign, is out to sensitize refugee parents on the importance of education, most especially that of the girl child, as well as grant them scholarships.
So far, we have about 1,200 children selected, and at least 1,000 will be sponsored.
This exercise, carried out since 2014 by the international body, has seen through school thousands of refugees who are on the field to share their experiences with others. Some of the refugee parents have volunteered to accompany the program. Apart from the sponsoring of over 1,000 refugee children in Douala this school year, Plan Cameroon and the United Nations Human Rights Commission are equally assisting government in giving a future to the less privileged and the vulnerable.
Preparations are underway for a successful reopening of schools in Bogo in the northwest region. The senior divisional officer has requested that education officials in the area play their part towards an effective start of the new school year. Fidel Tenyi made the appeal while chairing a meeting in the divisional headquarters Fundong, and he saluted the performance of schools in the 2021 official exam, saying Bogo must keep high standards in education. Karin Tosam has more.
These young people are motivated by the zeal to resume studies in the 2021-2022 school year.
We pray that students should come back in their numbers. Many students are being frustrated out where they are, so we are trying to clean the school so that students can come back here and feel free for their education.
Fidel Tenyi convened this meeting as a move to encourage school attendance in both public and private establishments in Bogo.
Administrative authorities are ready and have been working particularly hard so that the kickoff of 2021-2022 academic year should be a successful one.
He has saluted the optimism of members of the teaching staff and the community.
They should give chance to youngest one to acquire the knowledge. We urge particularly teachers for their output last year that they should be more committed. They should be more professional.
Mr. Tenyi has preconditioned the effective school resumption on the collaboration from the population.
Navy dubbed Independencia has docked at the Crise deep sea port with 257 members on board to reinforce the military cooperation between Cameroon and Brazil. The 257 members on board will within 3 days share their expertise with the officials of the Crise naval base in the south region of Cameroon. Polycarp Ate completes the story from Crise.
129 meters long, about 13 meters large, and roughly 6 meters deep is the size of the Brazilian Navy called Independencia that docked at the Crise deep sea port this Tuesday morning. Independencia and its 257 crew members on board were received by officials of the Crise naval base and other administrative authorities of the Ocean Division in the presence of the Brazilian Marine Corps to Cameroon, Aurelio Almeida. The docking of the Brazilian Navy at the Crise deep sea port is an indication that Cameroon-Brazil military cooperation that dates back to 2016 is yielding fruit.
They are here firstly to train our forces, to conduct some exercises for naval forces, and to also help us with some materials.
The captain of Independencia and his crew were during the welcome ceremony expressed satisfaction towards the hospitality received from their Cameroonian counterparts and administrative authorities of the Ocean Division.
Appreciate it. It's an honor for us to stay in Crise. It's an honor.
Independencia, the Brazilian Navy, will after 3 days in Crise navigate to other countries in the Gulf of Guinea.
The government of Cameroon and its partners are stopping at nothing in assisting vulnerable groups, especially those living with HIV/AIDS, in fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. The Minister of Social Affairs, Pauline Irengene, was speaking today in Yaounde while opening a 2-day workshop on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the vulnerable. The COVID project aims to integrate a human rights-based approach as a response to COVID-19 in ensuring lasting solutions to the impact of the pandemic on their socioeconomic and cultural rights. Gerald Nanji Eyambe.
Socially vulnerable groups, especially women, are faced with all forms of discrimination, including inadequate support in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
The barrier measures, all those information hardly reach these people. The indigenous community who doesn't have a television, there is no electricity, face masks, hand sanitizer that are being distributed to the various groups in the whole of the country. These things doesn't reach those indigenous communities because they only remain in the towns.
However, government and its partners are resolutely engaged towards integrating a human rights-based approach as a COVID-19 response plan.
They are vulnerable groups, and the risk of leaving them behind is very high. We will hear from them. They will talk. What are their problems, impacts of this pandemic on them, and what solution?
The government has done a lot with our partner, but it's not finished. We have to go on. We need additional resources.
The COVID project, funded to the tune of 2 million euros, will cover a period of 18 months from June 2021 to December 2022.
Africa needs broad and equitable access to the vaccine. Indeed, how can we achieve herd immunity with less than 5% of our citizens currently vaccinated?
COVID-19 cases in the country are on the rise again, and health specialists have been advising that people continue to respect barrier measures to curb the spread of the disease. The Public Health Ministry has just done its mid-year evaluation of the coronavirus pandemic. Details on these as we meet Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Frank Amabo at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you, Gladys Tata. We may have witnessed a drop recently in the number of persons tested positive for the coronavirus. It doesn't at all mean the virus doesn't circulate any longer. It does, because we still have persons who have been tested positive for the coronavirus in Cameroon on a daily basis. Let's do a mid-year evaluation so far for the pandemic in Cameroon with our guest, Dr. Frank Amabo. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
What assessment can we make so far mid-year into as far as the coronavirus pandemic in Cameroon is concerned?
I would first like to insist on the key message: caution, caution, caution. We have noticed in the world that currently most countries are experiencing a third wave of COVID. In Cameroon specifically, there has been a letter drafted to send out to inform on the circulation of the Delta variant in Cameroon. And our recent statistics show that the positivity rate, that is the number of people that are positive for COVID on a given number of people that are being tested, has been increasing. This tells us that it is likely that we're experiencing a drop in overall number of cases, but probably more and more positive persons if we widen our testing. So overall, Cameroon, like most countries, has really done a great job to not have the debacle that was predicted in terms of deaths and the number of cases of COVID in Cameroon. That notwithstanding, it is important that the general population stays vigilant, helps us to continue observing those physical public health measures to be able to continue to block the way to COVID.
Thank you so much, Dr. Frank Ababo, for that reassurance. We simply have to continue respecting the different outlined barrier measures. Persons are still being tested positive for COVID-19 to avoid a possibility of a third wave of the pandemic in Cameroon. Back to you, Gladys Tata.
Thanks very much, Bodin Sama, and our guest equally. The President of the National Communication Council has advised news reporters in the Northwest region to always treat with caution any information disseminated on the social media. Joseph Chebonken Kalabupse, who was speaking in Bamenda during a meeting with journalists, insists that the social media should be an indicator and not a source of information. Here are details with Eric Langmia in Bamenda.
The president of the regulatory organ says he's on a mission to sensitize news reporters to remain professional in a very difficult socio-political context.
It's very difficult to verify information in situations like this. But that's one thing which they must put in place: the use of professional ethics and deontology. That will vindicate them in most situations.
He has cautioned the journalists not to rely on information circulated on the social media.
In as much as the social media is challenging, it's also a challenge for the professionals to remain relevant to their public and their communities by employing their professional tactics in gathering and treating the information.
Joe Chebonken Kalabupse was on the 5th lap of a nationwide tour that has taken him to the center, south, littoral and southwest regions.
And on to this lead story, the humanitarian actions of First Lady Chantal Biya have been highlighted in the summer publication of the popular magazine Diva. The trendy articles of the publication presents Mrs. Chantal Biya as a philanthropist and social activist who is always ready to serve humanity, especially through her association SERAC, the Chantal Biya Foundation, and other structures patronized by her. Staff lady Enaga Kebi has read through the publication and now reports.
The popular magazine dubbed Divas, rich in content and color, has once more presented Mrs. Chantal Biya as a social activist, a role model, and a bright star in the Unity Palace, whose motive to serve humanity has earned her the attributes of a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Education and Social Inclusion and UN AIDS Special Ambassador in the fight against the spread of the AIDS virus. Always ready to serve humanity, especially women, the first article in the magazine presents Mrs. Chantal Biya and the spouses of diplomats at the East Wing of the Unity Palace for a tea party. Highlights of Mrs. Chantal Biya's generosity and love to serve humanity are clearly stated in the article on Crise, the hospital center for applied research, endoscopic surgery and human reproduction. A reference in the sub-region that ventures also in the treatment of gynecological cancers. The presence of Jael Amadou Amal, a young writer and winner of the 2020 award dubbed Goncourt de Lycéen at the East Wing of the Unity Palace with Mrs. Chantal Biya is an indication of Mrs. Chantal Biya's solidarity with artists, especially women. The magazine concludes with Mrs. Chantal Biya's 2019 humanitarian activities with Serac women. The portrait of the First Lady in the midst of Serac women, all dressed in the Serac fabric, presents solidarity and total communion with women. This humanitarian association, created and headed by Mrs. Chantal Biya, has been assisting the government, the society at large, in the domains of health, education, and social services.
We conclude with culture, where a book titled Marketing Territorial has been launched in Yaounde today. The publication aims at valorizing virtues of living together and illustrates the advantages of decentralized collectivities in the economic growth of localities. Romeo Kenyi says the book has been written by a young Cameroonian author, Lionel Nga.
120 pages divided into 3 chapters. The book, titled Marketing Territorial, seeks to demonstrate the importance of social inclusion among denizens. In the case of Cameroon, the writer, Lionel Nga, highlights the role decentralized collectivities play in the development of communities, reiterating positive criticism can help foster countries' growth, and this, he terms it notre activité arc-en-ciel.
Trying to show how to left that side of building or other side and see how they transform the mentality of people in the community and the services to valorize the visibility of the community.
Aged 35, the author, Lionel Nga, is holder of a diploma in conceptual engineering in the fields of marketing and management. His new publication, Marketing Territorial, has been prefaced by Professor Joseph Vincent Toudé Ebode. It is sold in bookshops for 10,000 CFA francs.
Join Romeo Chisengok at 8:30 for the news in French. I'll be back same time tomorrow. Thanks for being there. See you tomorrow, God willing.
As part of efforts to combat COVID-19 in particular, we must consolidate the gains already achieved and intensify mobilization for the ongoing vaccination campaigns in our countries.